Stop right now if you are over 60 and think you have retirement figured out. Here's a terrifying truth that most Americans simply refuse to face until it happens. By the year 2030, over 70 million Americans will be aged 65 and older. That is more than double the number we had just 20 years ago in America. But here's the statistic that should genuinely keep you awake tonight, my friend. 43% of seniors over 75 report feeling lonely on a regular daily basis. And loneliness is not just an emotion or some minor inconvenience you can ignore forever. The Surgeon General declared loneliness a public health epidemic that rivals smoking in danger. Social isolation increases your risk of dementia by 50% according to recent medical research. It doubles your chance of dying from heart disease compared to connected people around you. This is not about being sad or feeling a little bit blue on rainy days. This is about your brain literally shrinking and your immune system completely shutting down over time. I have spent over 2 decades studying how environment shapes health in aging populations profoundly. What I discovered will fundamentally change how you think about your final living years entirely. The house you are sitting in right now could be slowly killing you without symptoms, or it could be the foundation for the happiest and healthiest decades of life. The difference comes down to three specific decisions that most people get completely and tragically wrong. Stay with me for the next 15 minutes, because this information could save your life. If this message is already resonating with something deep inside your heart and mind, please take just 1 second to type the word YES in the comments section below. It helps me understand who is listening and shows others they are not facing alone. Now, let me share something that changed my entire understanding of aging and living situations. We have been taught that retirement means finally getting that dream house we wanted, the big property with the beautiful garden and the peaceful, quiet neighborhood far away. We think bigger is better and isolation equals peace and well-deserved rest finally. But the research tells us something completely and shockingly different about what actually matters. A massive study from Harvard followed over 700,000 adults for 84 years. They discovered that relationships and community are the single strongest predictors of healthy aging outcomes. Not money, not genetics, not exercise, not even diet came close to matching social connection. The people who stayed connected to others lived longer and stayed mentally sharper into 90s. The people who isolated themselves deteriorated rapidly, regardless of their wealth or health habits. This brings me to the first story I want to share with you about real life. This is about a man named Richard, who made the most common and devastating retirement mistake. Richard was a successful engineer from Michigan who retired at 67 with substantial savings available. He and his wife Margaret had always dreamed of escaping the harsh Midwest winters forever. So they bought a gorgeous 4-bedroom house in rural Arizona with stunning mountain views daily. The property was 5 acres of pure desert beauty with complete privacy and total silence. For the first 3 months, Richard called it paradise on earth every single morning. He would sit on his patio watching the sunrise, with his coffee feeling absolutely content. Margaret loved tending to her new desert garden and learning about all the local plants. But then Margaret was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and passed away within 8 months. Richard was suddenly alone in this enormous house, 45 minutes from the nearest town. The silence that once felt peaceful now pressed against him like a physical, crushing weight. He would go 3 or 4 days without speaking a single word to another human. His children lived in Chicago and could only visit perhaps twice each year at best. The nearest neighbor was over 2 miles away and they barely knew each other at all. Richard started forgetting things, small things at first, like where he put his reading glasses, then bigger things like whether he had eaten lunch or taken his blood pressure pills. His daughter called one evening and Richard could not remember what day of the week it was. She flew out immediately and found the house in complete disarray with expired food everywhere. Richard had lost 18 pounds and showed clear signs of early cognitive decline setting in. The neurologist told his daughter that the isolation had accelerated his brain deterioration by years. Richard is now in a memory care facility in Chicago near his children who visit. He told me before his decline worsened that the silence almost killed him before dementia could. That beautiful house became a prison that stole his mind and nearly took his life. The philosopher Aristotle wrote over 2,000 years ago that humans are social animals fundamentally. He understood that we literally cannot thrive or even survive properly without regular human connection. Modern neuroscience has proven exactly why this ancient wisdom holds absolutely true for everyone. Your brain produces a chemical called oxytocin whenever you have positive social interactions daily. This hormone reduces stress and inflammation while boosting your immune system function significantly. Without regular social contact, your brain stops producing adequate oxytocin for healthy functioning properly. Cortisol, the stress hormone, floods your system instead and begins destroying brain tissue over time. UCLA researchers found that lonely people have higher levels of inflammation throughout their entire bodies. This inflammation is linked to heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and accelerated aging in every system. Dr. John Cacioppo at the University of Chicago dedicated his career to studying loneliness scientifically. He discovered that social isolation triggers the same brain response as physical pain and injury. Your brain literally cannot tell the difference between being lonely and being physically wounded daily. This is why Richard deteriorated so quickly once Margaret passed away in that isolated house. His brain was experiencing constant pain signals without any relief or comfort available to him. The beautiful view and the expensive house meant absolutely nothing to his suffering, lonely brain. Now, let me tell you about the second story, which represents a different but equally common mistake. This is about Patricia, who went to the opposite extreme after her husband passed away unexpectedly. Patricia was 72 when her husband Thomas died of a sudden heart attack at home. Her children were terrified of leaving their mother alone in the family home in Ohio. They pooled their resources and moved her into a premier continuing care retirement community immediately. The facility cost over $6,000 per month, but promised comprehensive care and safety. Patricia would never have to cook, clean, drive, or worry about anything practical ever again. On paper, it seemed like the perfect solution for a grieving widow who needed extra support. The first month, Patricia admitted she felt relieved to have everything taken care of completely. But by the third month, something fundamental had shifted inside her spirit and mind profoundly. She noticed she was losing her sense of purpose and her identity as an independent person. Every decision was made for her, from when she ate to what activities were available each day. The facility was filled exclusively with people over 75, and most had significant health limitations. Conversations revolved around medications, doctor appointments, and which resident had recently passed away this week. Patricia told me she felt like she was just waiting in line for her own turn. The staff was kind, but they treated residents like patients rather than capable independent adults. Patricia had been a high school principal for 30 years, leading hundreds of people confidently daily. Now she needed permission to have a glass of wine with dinner in her room. She gained 20 pounds because meals were served at fixed times whether she was hungry or not. She stopped reading because the scheduled activities left no time for personal pursuits she valued. Her children noticed she seemed depressed and confused during their monthly visits to see her. After 18 months, Patricia made a bold and terrifying decision to leave the facility permanently. She walked away from the substantial entrance fee and found a small apartment in downtown Columbus. Her children thought she was being reckless and irresponsible with her own safety and well-being. But Patricia knew something they did not understand about what she actually needed to thrive. She needed autonomy, she needed purpose, and she needed a reason to wake up every morning. The facility had provided safety, but it had slowly been erasing her as a complete person. The psychologist Abraham Maslow described human needs as a hierarchy, with safety near the bottom. Above safety are belonging, esteem, and self-actualization, which require freedom and autonomy to achieve. When we sacrifice autonomy entirely for safety, we are actually moving backward on human development scales. Patricia understood instinctively what research has now confirmed about aging and well-being in seniors. The journal Psychology and Aging published a landmark study on autonomy and longevity in older adults. They found that perceived autonomy was a stronger predictor of longevity than physical health measures. Seniors who felt in control of their daily decisions lived an average of 7 years longer. Those who felt controlled by others or circumstances showed faster cognitive and physical decline rates. Patricia was right to leave, even though her children could not understand her reasoning initially. This brings me to the third story, which shows you exactly what successful aging looks like. This is about a woman named Eleanor, who approached her retirement with intentional strategic planning. Eleanor lost her husband Gerald at 69 and knew she needed to make important decisions fast. But unlike Richard, who fled to isolation, or Patricia, who surrendered her autonomy completely, Eleanor spent 6 months researching, visiting communities, and talking to people who were thriving in retirement. She treated finding her next home like the most important project of her entire life. Eleanor chose a 900 square foot apartment in a walkable urban neighborhood in Portland, Oregon. The apartment was modest, but her location was extraordinarily and intentionally rich with connection opportunities. Within a 5-minute walk, she could reach a community center, a library, and a park. Within 10 minutes, she could walk to grocery stores, coffee shops, and 3 different restaurants. Her adult daughter lived just 12 minutes away by car, but not in the same building. Eleanor maintained her independence while having family close enough for emergencies or Sunday dinners together. But here's what made Eleanor's choice truly brilliant and worth studying for your planning. She did not just move to a convenient location and hope that connections would happen naturally. She engineered her social life with the same intentionality she used to plan her career. Every Monday morning at 8:30, Eleanor walks to the community center for chair yoga class. Every Tuesday afternoon, she volunteers at the library helping seniors learn to use new technology. Every Wednesday, she meets the same 3 women for lunch at the same local restaurant consistently. Every Thursday, she takes an art class at the community center, regardless of weather or mood. Every Friday, her daughter comes over for dinner and they cook together in the kitchen. Every Saturday morning, she walks in the park and has coffee with other regulars she meets there. Eleanor has been in this apartment for 7 years now and just turned 76 years old. Her cognitive tests show no decline whatsoever, and her doctor says her health markers keep improving. She told me that she has never been happier or felt more alive than in these years. She said something I will never forget about her experience living alone in this situation. "Doctor, I live by myself, but I am surrounded by people who know my name every day. My apartment is my sanctuary, but the neighborhood is my actual home where I truly live." Eleanor understood what the research has now confirmed about successful aging in modern society. The key is not the size of your house or the amount of money in your account. The key is the density and quality of your social connections and daily purposeful activities. Researchers at Brigham Young University analyzed data from over 3 million people across studies worldwide. They found that strong social relationships increase survival odds by 50%, regardless of age. This effect was consistent across age, sex, health status, and cause of death categories. Dr. Julianne Holt-Lundstad, who led this research, compared loneliness to smoking 15 cigarettes daily. But unlike smoking, which takes decades to kill you, loneliness can accelerate decline within months. Eleanor's intentional community building was literally adding years to her life every single week. The Japanese have a concept called ikigai, which translates roughly to reason for being or purpose. Research in Okinawa, where people routinely live past 100, found ikigai strongly predicts longevity. Having a reason to wake up each morning is more powerful than any medication ever developed. Eleanor has ikigai because she has commitments to others who expect and value her presence regularly. The women at her Wednesday lunch would notice immediately if she did not show up today. Her yoga instructor knows her name and asks about her daughter and her art projects consistently. This web of small connections creates accountability and purpose that keeps her mind engaged completely. She matters to people beyond her family, and that mattering keeps her alive and thriving fully. Now let me give you the 3 specific and actionable solutions I promised at the beginning. These are based on everything we have learned from Richard, Patricia, Eleanor, and decades of research. Solution number one is what I call the community anchor strategy for successful senior living. Find a small apartment between 500 and 900 square feet in size for manageability. The apartment must be within a 10-minute walk of an active and well-programmed community center. The community center is your lifeline and your primary source of daily social connection consistently. A good community center offers exercise classes, educational programs, social events, and volunteer opportunities for seniors. It gives you a reason to leave your apartment every single day and see familiar faces. The size of your apartment matters more than you might think for psychological and practical reasons. Too large, and you feel the emptiness echoing, and you exhaust yourself with cleaning and maintenance. Too small, and you feel trapped with no space for hobbies or having a friend visit. The sweet spot of 500 to 900 square feet gives you room to breathe comfortably. You can have a guest over for tea without feeling cramped in a tiny space together. But you can also clean the entire apartment in under an hour when you have the energy. Your action step for this solution is simple, and you should do it today without delay. Search online for community centers and senior centers within your city or the city you want. Call them and ask about their programs, their membership costs, and their typical daily attendance numbers. Then, physically visit the center and spend at least 2 hours just observing the environment there. Watch how people interact and whether the energy feels welcoming and genuinely alive with activity. Sign up for just one class or program and commit to attending for 8 consecutive weeks. That one class will introduce you to people who will become your daily community over time. The relationships will develop naturally if you simply show up consistently, week after week, reliably. Solution number two is what I call the nature prescription strategy for maintaining senior health. Find an apartment on the ground floor or second floor near a safe and accessible public park. The low floor is essential for 2 critical reasons that could save your life someday soon. First, as mobility naturally decreases with age, stairs become dangerous obstacles to leaving home. If you are on the 5th floor and the elevator breaks, you may be trapped inside. A ground or second floor apartment means you can always leave even if elevators fail completely. Second, in emergencies like fires or earthquakes, low floors are dramatically safer for elderly residents. Emergency responders can reach you faster, and you can evacuate without navigating dangerous stairwells while panicking. The park is your outdoor living room and your primary source of daily physical activity. When nature is right outside your door, you will actually use it every single day automatically. Research from Stanford University found that walking in nature reduces activity in the part of brain linked to depression. Just 90 minutes of walking in a natural setting decreased rumination and negative self-focused thinking dramatically. The walkers also showed reduced neural activity in the subgenual prefrontal cortex, which is associated with sadness. Nature literally rewires your brain chemistry toward happiness and away from depression and anxiety naturally. Your action step for this solution is to build one unbreakable habit starting tomorrow morning. Walk in that park at exactly the same time every single day, without exception for any reason. I recommend 8 in the morning before the day gets busy and excuses start piling up quickly. You will start seeing the same faces, the same dog walkers, the same joggers at that time daily. After 1 week, you will nod hello and acknowledge each other as familiar neighborhood regulars. After 1 month, you will know names and have brief conversations about weather and local events. After 3 months, these people become your park friends, who notice when you are missing today. These connections happen automatically when you simply show up at the same time and place consistently. Solution number 3 is what I call the family proximity strategy for balanced senior independence. Live in the same general neighborhood as your adult children, but not in the same building. The ideal distance is about a 10 to 15-minute walk or a 5-minute drive away. This distance is close enough for true emergencies when you need immediate family assistance desperately. but it is far enough to maintain your independence and prevent daily boundary violations naturally. You are not living in their guest room feeling like a burden or walking on eggshells. They are not stopping by unannounced every day and slowly taking over your decision making authority. You can have Sunday dinner together, but you also have 6 days of complete, autonomous living. The German philosopher Schopenhauer described what he called the hedgehog dilemma about human relationships. Hedgehogs in winter huddle together for warmth, but their spines prick each other painfully when close. They must find the perfect distance where warmth is shared, but pain is not inflicted. Your relationship with adult children works exactly the same way regarding living distance and boundaries. Too close and you irritate each other and lose respect for boundaries that adults require. Too far and you lose the warmth and safety that family connection is supposed to provide. 10 to 15 minutes is the Goldilocks distance. Not too hot and not too cold for everyone. You share warmth through regular contact, but you maintain your individual identities and autonomous lives. Your grandchildren can visit easily, but they do not overwhelm your quiet daily routine constantly. Your action step for this solution is to have one honest conversation with your adult children. Tell them you have been thinking seriously about your living situation for the coming years ahead. Explain that you want to live near them, but not with them, for everyone's benefit long term. Ask them to help you research neighborhoods near their homes that might work for your needs. Frame it as planning together rather than making demands or asking for permission from them. This conversation prevents the crisis decision making that happens when emergencies force sudden moves unprepared. Most family conflicts about elder care happen because no planning occurred before the crisis hit unexpectedly. By having this conversation now, you remove the panic and emotion from future practical decisions entirely. Now, I want to address something important for those of you listening who are currently married. You may be thinking that this does not apply to you because you have your spouse right now. I need you to hear me very clearly about why this planning matters for you, especially today. The statistics are brutal and unavoidable about what will happen to most married couples eventually. One spouse will almost certainly die before the other and leave someone alone for years afterward. Women typically outlive men by 5 to 7 years, according to current life expectancy data. This means the surviving spouse, often the wife, will live alone for a significant time period. If you have not planned for single living, that transition will be devastating and potentially deadly. The grief of losing a spouse, combined with sudden isolation, is a lethal combination for seniors. Many widows and widowers decline rapidly in the first year after losing their life partner unexpectedly. They end up in care facilities, not because of physical illness, but because of loneliness-induced decline. The house that worked perfectly for two people becomes a tomb for one person alone. You must plan now while you're both healthy and thinking clearly about the future together. Choose a home that works for one person living alone, even if two people occupy it now. Build community connections now, so the surviving spouse has support systems already in place. Have the difficult conversations about what happens when one of you is gone from this life. These conversations are hard, but they are acts of love and protection for each other. The greatest gift you can give your spouse is ensuring they will not be alone when you die. Let me share some additional research that reinforces everything we have discussed in this presentation. The National Institute on Aging conducted extensive research on what they call successful aging patterns. They identified 3 key factors that predict whether someone will thrive or decline in later years. Factor 1 is continued engagement with life through activities and relationships that provide meaning consistently. Factor 2 is maintained cognitive and physical function through regular exercise and mental stimulation activities. Factor 3 is low probability of disease through preventive health behaviors and stress management practices. Notice that none of these factors require a large house or an expensive retirement facility. All of them require connection, purpose, activity, and engagement with the world around you daily. Your environment either supports these factors or actively works against them, depending on your choices. The MacArthur Foundation study on aging followed thousands of seniors for over 10 years meticulously. They found that lifestyle and environment were more important than genetics for determining aging outcomes. Your genes load the gun, but your environment and choices pull the trigger on your health. You have far more control over how you age than you have been led to believe by others. The choices you make about where and how you live will shape your final decades profoundly. Dr. Robert Waldinger directs the Harvard Study of Adult Development, which is the longest study ever conducted. He summarized 84 years of data in one simple sentence that everyone should memorize today. Good relationships keep us happier and healthier, and that is the bottom line of this research. Not wealth, not fame, not achievement, not even physical health at midlife predicted well-being in old age. The people who were most satisfied in their relationships at age 50 were the healthiest at 80. This is not correlation but causation, confirmed through decades of rigorous, longitudinal research and analysis. As we come to the end of our time together, I want to leave you with one powerful thought. The house you choose for your final years is not really about the house at all, friend. It is about the life that the house enables or prevents you from living fully and completely. Richard chose a beautiful house that enabled isolation and accelerated his cognitive decline tragically. Patricia chose a safe facility that enabled dependence and erased her sense of self over time. Eleanor chose a modest apartment that enabled connection, purpose, and the happiest years of her life. The difference was not the buildings themselves, but what each building made possible or impossible. Your task now is to look at your current situation with completely honest and unflinching eyes. Does your current home enable connection, or does it enable isolation from others around you? Does it give you autonomy, or does it slowly rob you of your independence and choices daily? Does it position you for thriving, or merely for surviving until the end finally comes? These questions deserve honest answers, even if those answers are uncomfortable and difficult to face. I have given you 3 specific solutions based on the best research and real-life experience today. The community anchor strategy puts you near people and programs that provide daily connection automatically. The nature prescription strategy puts you near green space that heals your brain and body continuously. The family proximity strategy puts you near loved ones while protecting everyone's boundaries and independence carefully. Now, I need to ask you one final question before you close this video and move on. What is the one action you will take this week based on what you have learned here today? Please go to the comments right now and type the number that represents your commitment to yourself. Type number 1 if you will research apartments near community centers in your area this week. Type number 2 if you will scout locations near parks and start building your walking habit immediately. Type number 3 if you will have that honest conversation with your children about future living plans. Your comment is not just for me to see, but it is a promise you are making publicly. It is also a signal to others in this community that they are not alone in this journey. We are all aging together, and we can support each other through these important life transitions meaningfully. If this video has given you valuable information that could change your life for the better, please take 1 second to hit the like button so others can find this message when they need it. Subscribe to this channel so you never miss another video that could transform your future entirely. And think of one person in your life who needs to hear this message right now, urgently. Maybe it is a sibling who is approaching retirement without any real plan for connection. Maybe it is a parent who is isolating themselves in a house that has become too big. Maybe it is a friend who recently lost their spouse and is disappearing into loneliness and isolation. Share this video with them because it might be exactly what they need to hear today urgently. You could literally be saving someone's life with a simple share button click right now. Thank you for staying with me until the very end of this important presentation on aging. The fact that you are still here tells me you are serious about living well in your later years. You have the knowledge now about what actually matters for healthy aging and longevity ahead. The question is whether you will use that knowledge to make different choices starting today actively. The house is just walls and a roof, but your community is where you actually live and thrive. If this video has touched your heart in any way, let me know by clicking the like button, sharing it with someone you care about, or typing one in the comments. And if you wish to continue walking this path with me, exploring health, healing, and deeper living in your golden years, don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell icon. Every week, I will be right here with you, reminding all of us that we are still alive. Choose your community wisely, and your final years can be the best years of your entire life. I truly believe that aging alone does not have to mean aging lonely or aging poorly, friend. With the right planning and the right environment, you can thrive for decades to come ahead. Until next time, may you find the place where you can be alone, but never lonely again. May your later years be filled with connection, purpose, health, and deep, lasting peace, friend. I will be here with you every step of the way on this important journey forward together.